Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Podcasting Master. I'm Chelsea, and I'm here with Wade as always. And this week we are talking about a game kind of in celebration of Pride Month. This game seemed like a game that was getting a lot of praise for some LGBT representation.
Yeah, it has a lot of connection to the LGBT crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to give it a go. Did you feel like it? I didn't really feel like it was terribly like LGBT involved,
No.
at all, almost. But now that I've completed the game, I understand why people would gravitate towards it in that regards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think in general, it's overall a good game that does show representation of a variety of people. It may not necessarily be regarding, their sexuality necessarily, but also just there's a character for everyone, probably. You can probably relate to somebody in this game or know somebody who has experienced this, because this game we were talking about, I don't think I specifically mentioned, is Life is Strange. And it is a narrative adventure game where your choices are rough. They matter at certain points.
They come back to bite you sometimes in ways that you don't always expect.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you have to, and it tells you when when you're making a choice, because it tells you, but then at the top you see that this action will have consequences.
Yes.
And every single time, even if you're I did a good person thing, I made a good choice, and you see that little butterfly with the with the saying, I'm just oh no, oh god, I've gone and killed somebody in the future. Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. Which I really do enjoy games like these, but they are always a struggle of being oh, what's the right decision, or what should I do at a certain time? Which, honestly, to give this game credit, it wasn't a game where I had to make decisions in 10 seconds or else I missed out on something.
Oh my gosh, that is so stressful.
Yes.
Like the Telltale games and stuff like that. No, thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I was this game was already stressful enough as is. I'm glad I had a couple moments to contemplate or even just pause the game to be what am I choosing? What am I doing?
Well, and it helps because the main character, Max, she gains that power of time manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you do something and you don't like the immediate effect of what happened, you can rewind time and you can remake that decision.
Yeah, so time is definitely on your side in many ways with this, to take it at your own pace, and which is a really cool mechanic to do, which actually is interesting. So the directors, so this game was directed, it was a co-directed game, and their previous game they worked on was a game called Remember Me, but I did try out that game before, and that was a game that also kind of played with time manipulation and memory and stuff. It was just one of those games that had a similar-ish mechanic, but then they took it strictly in this game to being just rewinding time and going back and picking a different choice or whatnot. But yes, so our main character can manipulate time, and that is Max Caulfield, and she is an 18-year-old high school student at a school that she wanted to go to pursue her photography career. And this school is in a town that she used to live in, but it's been 5 years because her family moved away to Seattle, and now she's back in Arcadia Bay, Oregon, to attend school. And what a drama school, because the school is weird.
Oh my gosh. It's like a high school that you see in a movie, times 10, where everybody's just awful and so attached to cliques and stuff like that. It's, oh my gosh. But it tells a really good story through that model. So at least there's that.
Yeah. And it's one of those schools where everybody lives on the school campus and dorms and everything too, which is really fun to go through, looking at people's rooms, because all these kids have quite some personalities. So they have little dry erase boards, and the rooms are decorated.
They are very well thought out characters, very deep, most of them. And in the school that she goes to, it's a private art school for high school seniors, essentially.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna get a lot of personality in both good and bad amounts. But I love the fact that as you are going around and snooping between cutscenes, everybody that is not just a player character mentality. All of the students are oh, there's Max, she's so nosy.
Yeah.
They work that into Max's character. And Max is always I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to I wasn't trying to butt in. I wasn't trying to go through your stuff. It's like, but we absolutely were. So
Yeah. It's so funny with her character. I love it because we get a lot of like in her head moments. So lots of like voiceover commentary on things. She's such a dork. I love Max.
I love her too.
She's also like so freaking relatable. I was just like, I get where you're coming from. I feel like I was kind of you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, she also seems to be like the only like fairly normal person at
The fact that she
school.
has powers but is still the fairly normal person.
Yeah,
Exactly.
she's still the fairly normal person. You've got like your popular kids who are all members of the Vortex Club. They're the ones with the money, with the power, with, you know, the typical high school popularity crowd. And then you have everybody else.
Mhm.
And that's just kind of how it is. With, I guess, like Max kind of on the side, because you can go either way with her.
Yeah. I also think it's so funny because everybody's so judgy of Max, and I'm just like, okay, but
So
are you
judgy.
Yeah, I just
And,
like it's like calm yourself, people. And it's so funny because she just started at that school. Like, I don't know if the school, because I guess she's been there since the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, she's been there since the beginning of the school year.
Okay, but like everybody else like knows each other, so which is really funny
She's
because
kind of a new kid, yeah.
Yeah, because I guess she never knew any of these people really before when she used to live there in Arcadia Bay 5 years ago, because there's only one person like she repeatedly talks about that we will bring into discussion in a minute, but she knows this because the other thing with the school is not only is this like kind of the rich like preppy private school, it's also, you know, there's one big family of course in this town that has all the money, that tries to like own everything and has a lot of input to what happens or doesn't happen per se at that school, and that's the Prescott family. And their child, Nathan, is the same age as you, and so he will pop up again and again. And it's one of those things too where it's
sure
like
will.
Yeah, a kid that acts out, that's not a perfect kid, that has to deal with the pressures of the family, but also so much more.
Oh my gosh. I thought he was going to be like this kind of character.
Mhm.
And then, good God, did that rabbit hole open up fast.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
I thought we were going to twist it and be like, you know, we assumed wrong, but no, it's still like, okay.
Nope, not at all. Now, he does come with a lot of, like, sympathy and, like, pity, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
But he is not forgivable either.
No. I'm like, it's hard to get to that point to feel sympathy for him, but
Yeah,
it's just...
you can feel bad for him, but still know that what he did is not cool.
Yeah. But initially, so the game starts off with sitting in a classroom, a photography classroom, and also dealing with like being like sucked into a storm at the same time, like going back and forth between these weird things for Max and like this vision of hers. And in this class, she also discovers her ability to turn back time.
Which you get this cool little moment where she's sitting there, she's listening to a lecture on photography where one of the like rival characters, Victoria, she gives a really like good answer to the question that was being asked. And then she discovers she has this power, so she hops back in time. And when she goes back in time, like, she does not change herself. She gets to keep all of that knowledge or physical belongings. She gets to keep all of that, and everything else rewinds. So then when that question is asked again, Max can give the correct answer, and Victoria is like, like, you think you're so smart. You just want to punch her in the face, like, all the time.
Yeah, she's complicated. It's one of those things where you want to try to be the better person, but it can be hard.
Oh my gosh, she does make it really hard.
Yeah, but I love, going back in time and being like, I know the correct answer because I think it's funny.
I know, right? Because, you can talk to somebody and they're talking to you about stuff and they're just like, are you stupid or something? Like, get out of my sight. And you're just like, wow, I really messed that up. You're like, wait a minute, hold on. You can hop back and just try it again. But a lot of times it's not as simple as like, well, now I can give the right answer. It's like, now I can bring up this topic with the right answer before they even ask me a question, and then they just think I'm the coolest person in the world. That changes a lot of the stuff that you can do.
Or also times where you can't get somebody to talk, but then you like search around nearby or find out something, and then you go back in time and be like, I'm gonna bring up this and maybe you'll talk to me now because I know this thing or whatever. But there's definitely a lot to do in this game. There's definitely a lot of moments you can like talk to everybody, which I think is such an important thing to do in this game, which, I feel like for both of us, we try to really be like completionists and like try to like explore as much as we can or talk to everybody, because these conversations are like really big, not only to help you like move along in the story, but also just helps give so much more character to everyone else.
You
and
have
just,
so much more context when you just stop and exhaust your dialogue options, look at all the things, check all the things. Like, it really, really helps a lot. Take pictures of squirrels, like, it's fine. There's plenty to do.
Yeah. Well, so after like the initial part with Max and her classroom and stuff, and then after like the bell rings or whatever, and she kind of freaks out and like goes to the bathroom and kind of is just like, what is happening here, basically? Like, I need to like splash water in my face. And then she gets distracted in the bathroom because Max is obsessed with photography. She's trying to look for like the next greatest shot, but she's also very shy when it comes to showing her work because her teacher, Mr. Jefferson, was like, we're having a contest, everybody needs to submit a photo, and Max still hasn't submitted a photo, and he's like, you need to submit one, and she's like, yeah, I'll get on that, sure. So anyway, there's this blue butterfly that appears in the bathroom. And so she takes a picture of it, but while she's occupied with that, somebody else comes into the bathroom. And it's a guy. It's Nathan Prescott, who is freaking out.
Coming in and panicking in front of a mirror. And
yeah. So Max just hides because she's like, oh boy.
Yeah. She hides from him because she doesn't want to deal with that, which is totally fair. Considering right afterwards, a girl comes through there, through the door, Chloe, and she's like, harassing Nathan about something that has happened in the past and that she knows, and she's going to tell everybody about it, so on and so forth, which does not help him with his panic stuff going on.
Nope.
To the point of where he pulls a gun on her.
And shoots her.
And Max is like hardcore panicking, of course. So Nathan runs out, and Max is kind of like, well, I have to do something, so you rewind time in order to save Chloe. Basically just kind of by making a distraction in the bathroom, like a loud noise, where Nathan freaks out and runs away.
Yeah. So then it kind of goes from there, but then like she doesn't get a chance to talk to Chloe or whatever, because I didn't think she actually like recognized it was Chloe at first.
She didn't.
Yeah. So it was just kind of like a freak out moment. So then you have the opportunity, once you leave, to choose to talk to the principal or not about a kid at your school having a gun. Now, what did you do in this situation?
So since this was my first major decision, I went back and forth a lot. I like watched one cutscene, went back and watched the other one. It's like, well, if I have the power to do this, let me kind of see the immediate effects, you know?
Yeah.
And I ended up going with the tattling on Nathan about the gun in the bathroom because, you know, guns in school should probably be reported regardless of who it is with the gun. Like, he's kind of the kid that has all the power, his money, his family feeds like all the money into the school. Doesn't matter. He's clearly like not right in the head. It needs to be told to somebody. So I went with reporting Nathan.
I did too. It was also one of those things too where it's like, yeah, it's somehow going to be swept under the rug no matter what, but at least like I'm attempting to like try to get the word out that this is a serious problem. I
brought it up. Other people can like, that's above my pay grade kind of situation.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, it's probably going to have backlash on like the character, but like Max is already like seen as kind of like the weirdo outsider kid. So I'm like, well, there's not much worse that could technically happen besides like me dying. So it might as well just tell people the truth and try to warn people. Which, because once you tell like the principal the truth, or like you can also like tell everybody else. So whether anybody believes you, at least word gets around that Nathan has a gun. So watch out.
And even then, everybody just kind of like, yeah, that fits the profile.
Yeah.
They're not too worried about it. Like,
no.
What? All right.
Yeah. I'm just like, oh gosh. So we have unstable Nathan, but we do get to, not long after, we get to meet everybody at school that Max interacts with, like from Victoria Chase and her little minions, to the jocks, to the stoners, to the sweet guy who everybody still thinks is a weirdo for some reason because he's smart, I feel like, is Warren.
His whole thing is like, I'm really smart and I'm really good at science and I love sci-fi. Like, he's a little geek and I love him. But everybody's just like, ew, Warren. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, look at yourself. Look at yourself. Yeah. Like, y'all are weirdos, and he's just, like, out here living his best life. You leave this poor boy alone.
Yeah. Well, and I was hesitant with Warren, realistically, because I was kind of like, he does seem really sweet, but I'm like, but what if something like he's sketchy in the end? I was like, but I will still go along
Dun,
with him
dun,
because
dun.
yeah, because I was like, I don't know how this game's turning out, because another big thing that happens, not only with like your rewind powers and like saving Chloe but not realizing it's Chloe at first, is you see all these posters around school for a missing girl named Rachel Amber, who I think has been missing for like a good couple months. And
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those weird vibes where people are kind of like, she was really cool, but like did weird stuff, and so like she's gone. But people also don't seem to be that concerned that she's missing. They're just kind of like, it's the way things are. Like, she did it to herself.
I think they like kind of assume that she just kind of like ran off.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But either way, they're still not terribly worried about it, which is like, these missing posters are everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere, and you all are just kind of like
yeah. Okay, so another like mechanic of this game, not only can you like have opportunities to take pictures, you can also have moments to talk to everybody. You also have like a menu where you can see like text between people, like Max texting back and forth with various people, which really plays an important part throughout the rest of the game, whether it's people who end up threatening you or those like, because so you're away at the school, but your parents still live like in Washington, so the only way you're communicating through your parents is like via text.
And you know, I love when games do that. They give you like a lot of times it's like text and emails, but I love that because it's extra characterization, and you know, things get a little deeper. You get to know your people a little bit better. I love when games do this.
Yeah, there's so much personality in those, that's for sure. It's some of them are just outright hilarious.
Oh, well, speaking of, fun fact, Max and I have the same birthday. So
nice.
Which you only find out if you read the text messages. So
yes, so true. Yeah,
that was really cool. I like that.
Yeah, that's funny. And that's also helpful too, because if you pay attention to the dates and times of the text, because then you can kind of line up like your playthrough and the storyline of what's going on, because this game only takes place over like less than a week, like only a couple days.
It's like Monday through Friday, right? Something like that.
Yeah, because then another thing is part, so that like when Max like gets her powers and stuff, and like she like sees this vision of this giant tornado that's going to like wreck Arcadia Bay, but it happens like on Friday, and so she realizes she needs to figure out how to stop that, as well as dealing with her high school drama life. And now she's invested in who is Rachel Amber and why is she missing, and she's kind of like, why is nobody talking about this? I feel intrigued. And she feels even more invested in it because Chloe comes to her rescue, per se, when she's at school.
Nathan, Max goes to meet Warren, and they're talking, like, it's kind of cute. They're bantering, and Warren's like, we should, like, go do this thing sometime, and I think you'd like it. And then Nathan comes into the parking lot yelling and screaming at Max. For basically ratting on him about the... Now, this is assuming, I'm guessing, that you tell on Nathan? I don't really know.
I don't know. Like, that's what we did, but...
Yeah, Nathan comes in. He's yelling and screaming, oh my gosh, about this whole situation and how dare Max think that she could challenge him.
Yeah.
And he goes to, like, hit Max, and Warren jumps in the way. And so now they're fighting on the ground. And Max is like, oh my god, like, what is happening? And then Chloe comes racing into the parking lot in this old beat up truck and throws the door open. And she's like, get in, Max, we gotta go. And Max is like, oh my god, Chloe? And she jumps in, and then, like, that's kind of like when the game really starts.
Yeah.
So Chloe drives you to her house, and they're kind of like catching up because Chloe has been very hurt by this whole situation, because when Max left Arcadia Bay, she didn't really contact Chloe anymore. Like, she wrote some letters, I think.
Yeah, but it was just...
But that was very much
basic,
it. You know, and between the ages of 13 and 15, if your best friend leaves you and then ghosts you...
yeah, that sucks.
That's not fun feeling. So Chloe kind of had her time to... go over how she was feeling about that, but they are like, no, but we can still figure it out. We can still be friends. But then you get to learn more about Chloe and how Chloe's not exactly the same person that she used to be.
No, and it's also, too, mentioning that, like, Chloe's dad also died right before Max left too. So not only did she have to deal with the loss of her father, but then her best friend also left her. So she really feels like everybody left her. Nobody cares about her. And so she really goes hard into like the rebellious phase. And so she is the girl with the blue hair. She dyed her hair. She has tattoos. She smokes weed. She hangs out with an interesting crowd. But then she's also has to deal with the fact about that her mom remarried to this guy who she absolutely despises, who is a big character throughout this game.
Oh, step douche.
Yes. Yes, exactly. But you find out through everything, his name is David, and not only does he play a part in like trying to quote be a father figure for Chloe, but he also works at the school.
Mm-hmm. He is the security guard.
Yes.
He's in charge of all security, I guess, at the school. Yeah. And he's also, I don't know if you said he's a war vet.
No, I hadn't gotten to that yet. Yes, yeah.
So he's very just paranoid, and surveillance is his number PTSD. One tool. Mm-hmm. Surveillance over all things.
Yeah. And so, like, time in the military, like, really messed him up, basically, and just, like you said, he's really paranoid, and he really takes his job seriously with security. But that's up for debate, I guess, if you want to think he's doing a good job or a bad job at that, and how he expresses that. But he definitely becomes a barrier in lots of situations. But you also find out too, because Chloe also despises him and stuff, and there's moments where you're around where David appears and like is lecturing Chloe on things, and there's stuff where like you can choose to step in or not, and sometimes like David lashes out and slaps Chloe, so like things get violent with that, which is like, yeah,
there's a lot with David just as a person. You know, like, he's a person, he has his job, he's trying to be some kind of father, and he just doesn't know how to do the things, because he's also suffering from PTSD, and going through this, he's very sympathetic in a way too, but I also think that he is a reflection for a lot of people on some not great things in everybody else's life. Like, he is kind of like the embodiment of a lot of other people's problems in their life, like not like within the world, but like our world. A lot of people can look at Dave and it's really easy just to be like, gross, absolutely not, no way.
Yeah, and there's so much that we see with our lead characters too, and looking at their lives and seeing where they're coming from and how they react. But essentially, once you like reconnect with Chloe and everything, even though she's super bitter at you because you left her, and you're like, well, I can't force my parents to, to not move.
Yeah, right. I mean, she doesn't like lash out at you. She doesn't use that as like a diving board all the time to get on your case. But she did get some time to kind of like express her own feelings at it, but that she also still wants to be friends. She wants to, quote unquote, kind of get back to normal with Max, and Max wants that too. She genuinely wants that too, because she feels not like a great person for ghosting Chloe. It's not something she ever intended to do, but she does want to make it right. She does want to fix it.
Well, and it's just such a good, it's a highlight for Max in some ways too, because we've already seen like her drama at school, and people always think she's kind of weird. Like, she has like some kind of friendships with some people there, but like when she sees Chloe again, it like, it just really brings her back to like their really strong, great friendship they had all those years. It's just been like 5 years since they've seen each other, and so it's also some levity in a sense to her day after dealing with all the chaos of finding out she has abilities, to almost getting like beat up by very concerned crazy Nathan. And so those two just become like a key component throughout the game. And you also find out, because all these missing posters for this girl Rachel, Chloe knew her, and they were apparently really close.
Chloe's the one who's been putting up the missing posters too.
So that's why there's been so many, because she's cared so deeply for Rachel, and because nobody else is talking about it, but she is so adamant about like, I need to know what happened to her and why, because I was friends with her, and clearly she was keeping secrets, but why was she keeping secrets from me? She shouldn't have. And so this game also becomes a huge investigation, murder mystery, trying to find out. And then there's so many layers to this game. You're just trying to get by every day as a high school student.
Well, there's before we get any farther, there's a character that we've missed talking about who is important to things that are going to be happening, and talking about like Max's friendships and stuff. And that friend is Kate.
Yes.
Kate is like she's a quiet girl at school who, you know, she wants to be a photographer. She wants to do all these things similar to Max, but she comes from an extremely religious family. Like picture the most religious family that you've ever met and then like multiply it. They're very like strict to the word of God and everything. And before this week starts, there was this party with the Vortex Club. And there is this video that came out of this party where basically like Kate is just kind of making out with all sorts of guys, just kind of. And then of course that video was uploaded to the internet after the party, and Kate is being bullied mercilessly. Like terribly. Like you see lots of graffiti, you see all these things happening to Kate, even just like 20 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
And Kate is extremely like withdrawn, she's depressed, she's crying all the time. And you get a chance to defend her because the security guard David, Chloe's stepdad, comes out and is harassing her because he thinks she's up to something, but Kate is just not in that like mental health state to be harassed by adults. And things are really just pushing at Kate more and more and more. So you get the chance via Max to be a good friend to her.
Which I did stand up for her in that moment.
I thought about it. Because you can either take a picture of David harassing Kate, or you can just physically, you know, intervene. And I chose that option too. I helped her out. Yeah. So we'll see how that affects things later. But anyway, back to Chloe.
Well, another thing real quickly about Kate is to mention, like, even though she's like super religious and comes from a super religious family, she's not like really a bigot or anything. She's really a sweet girl. She just like really strongly believes in her faith and just really focused on that, which is also implied, like, so she's not going to do anything like controversial or whatever. And so it's very unusual for her to even have gone to like a Vortex Club party and to be on video making out with people. It's a very strange situation.
You don't get Kate talking about the situation for a while. She's so upset about the situation because she's just being attacked from all, like, you get the chance to go into Kate's room and you see, like, later on, and you see, like, her extended family have sent her letters and postcards basically telling her that, like, they saw the video, she's going to hell, and Kate needs to get comfortable with that fact. Like, her mother has basically disowned her, but she has her dad and her sisters still,
I was gonna say, except for them,
believing in her, being on her side, and there are some really like sweet moments, like sweet things you can read coming from her dad and stuff. But she's really like, this video has messed her life up.
Yeah.
In like every aspect, because the thing is that all of the people who are, like, all the students who are actively harassing Kate for doing this they're the kids who do all this stuff naturally. Like, and nobody bats an eye. But when Kate does it, you know, it's a whole other thing, which that gets me heated a lot, you know, but there's more to that story later. We'll get into that as we get farther into the story, I think. Yeah,
and there's so many moments that pop up that definitely seem a callback or at least influences on this game, because as I started playing this game, like, kind of the stuff with Kate, it weirdly reminded me of kind of Veronica Mars in some ways. Yeah, because of just like that whole high school thing, something happening at a party and like everybody else like knowing things or something and like hiding it from the person who was involved. But that also does deal with like her friend's murder and stuff. But another thing, which totally the vibe, which actually the director said was like a direct influence for this game, was like X-Files, specifically Twin Peaks, which there are so many nods to Twin Peaks in this game that I was just like, oh crap, there is definitely some supernatural elements here. It's all around like a particular student's death, like this girl that everybody thought was one way, but there's so much more to her behind the scenes, and I'm like, oh no, I don't know where this game is going. Like, is it gonna go too far Twin Peaks or not? So I was just like, oh boy.
I've never seen that show. I've heard a lot about it, but maybe I should watch it.
Yes, I think we should cover it on the podcast at some point. I think it'd be fun because a side note, there's actually a video game that's loosely based or heavily based debatably. They basically copied like the almost entire show into a video game, and that video game is freaking wild. So if listeners are interested in hearing us talk about that particular game and all about Twin Peaks, let us know. I am so here for it, talking all about that. So but we'll move on to something that was a little less creepy, a little less disturbing. So we'll continue on with Life is Strange.
So this game is split into 5 episodes. Mm-hmm. And it's not as simple as like, well, every episode is a day or anything like that, because that's not exactly how the time frame breaks up. But I feel like everything is split up the way it was supposed to. Like every ending to every chapter feels right. Like it lets you breathe. Like, we're here, don't worry about it until the next chapter starts.
Yeah, but there's always some little bit of cliffhanger, which honestly, I'm so glad I played this game years later after it came out, so I didn't have to wait like every other month to play it, because it is episodic, and literally when it originally came out, it was an episode like every other month, and so I'm glad I got to go right into the next
my gosh,
episode.
Seriously, I couldn't have. Well, it only gets worse after every like next chapter. Like, yeah. Oh my gosh, especially the next one, the next chapter. Like, it really, things just start going downhill fast, and it is just too much.
Yeah, but real quickly before we like start moving on to that, so we get little hints or little teases sometimes at the end of some of these episodes, especially after the end of the first one. We see a mysterious person who you're definitely like, oh, this person is sketchy, like, is this like the killer or whatever, but like, you know, or somebody who is up to something because we don't know what's happened. You see a wall or like kind of a shelf full of like either their tapes or binders or something with all these girls' names on them.
Oh my gosh, I recognize them, of course, like, because they're there at the end of every episode. Mm-hmm. And at first I was like, oh, it's probably like police binders, because it's an investigation, right? Like, it's probably
that's fair, I guess, yeah.
But then, oh my god, but then you find out what they are. Like, I just wanted to like die.
Yeah. Well, I've watched too much Pretty Little Liars, and that gives like end of episode A vibes, and I was like, oh crap, this is like they're keeping their stuff on all these girls. And then yeah, you see Rachel's name on one of them. At one point you also see like Kate's name, and you're like, holy crap, like what is going on here? Like, this is so eerie. But yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, moving on from there. Before I ruin everything.
Well, we'll get there, yeah.
Yeah. So, moving on to the second episode?
I guess so, yeah. It's just, there's just so many stories, like, they're all weaving in and out of each other. It's just so many relationships. And
well, the great thing about Chloe and Max is that they each kind of have their own mystery they want to solve. Mm-hmm. Chloe wants to get to the bottom of what happened to Rachel. Mm-hmm. And Max wants to figure out how to stop the town from being destroyed.
Yeah.
And they're both like, that's fine. Let's conquer both of these things together, because together we can do it. Very nice and cute. And so they shift like, what's like, it's important that we do this right now. Well, now we need to go over here and switch gears and look at this one. But they realize they might be like tied together. Mm-hmm. You know, they might be connected as to like what's going on in the grand scheme of things, and that's kind of true.
Yeah. Well, and another thing too is that like with Max trying to like stop this huge like storm, this huge tornado, is that like all this weird stuff weather-wise and stuff starts happening. And so like first chapter, it starts snowing, but everybody's like, it's 80 degrees.
It's like it's like October.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, it just starts snowing at the end of the episode. Mm-hmm. Like, no big deal, it's fine. And it's certainly talked about at the beginning of the next chapter. Like, this is not like main character syndrome where she notices something weird and then we move on. It's like, nope, this was a natural or an unnatural phenomenon. And everybody's like, what? You know, it's a thing.
Yeah. It's in their newspapers. It's on the news. People are talking about it at school. But yeah, so in the second episode, I feel like the two big things, like, so you continue with Kate. Like, Kate becomes a really big part of this next episode, and it really depends like on how much you interact with her, you explore her room, you choose to assist her, because you eventually go to talk to her and you're kind of like, hey, you know, I think I kind of know what's going on, like I just want to let you know, like, I'm here for you. And she's like, you're like the only one who's come to me, basically, like, thank you. But
and you find out that like she doesn't actually remember
No.
what happened at the party. It's that she went to the party and then like she woke up the next day like not in the right place. And then this video came out and like her life is ruined and she doesn't know what's happened between then and now.
Yeah. And like Max is quick to like kind of judge Nathan like immediately for everything, because at one point like Kate does say like, oh, I think Nathan was there, but I thought he was trying to help me. And you're kind of like, I don't know about that, like,
because Kate is sweet and she likes to think the better of people.
So yeah, you can better. Yeah. And there's also moments with people like still trying to like spread this video and finding it absolutely hilarious. So I don't know if specifically it was Victoria or whoever like wrote it on the mirror in the bathroom and stuff.
I think it was like Taylor or somebody, but yeah, she like they like write the link in lipstick on the mirror in the girls' bathroom. And you can choose to erase it. I assume you probably chose to erase it.
I erased it. I was like, I think everybody's already seen it, but I'm like, why do we need to just have it on display more? Mm-hmm. Like, people need to move past this. Like, but then, so you still get to have more opportunities to like have kind of some quieter moments, I guess, with some of these other characters. These characters like that you live on like in the dorm with, that you go to school with, so you can either choose to like care about their problems or not, from like boy drama cheating to being pregnant to like
oh my gosh, yeah, that whole segment I was like, really, guys?
Yeah, but I tried to like play Max as being like trying to be the bigger person and like trying to care and talk about people, which I don't know if it already happened, but there's one moment where you can like have paint spill on Victoria, who is like the queen bee, just like out to get everybody. And
because she was like blocking the entrance to the dorms.
Yeah, and she would not let you pass. But I chose to be the bigger person in that situation because I was like, I didn't make fun of her.
I didn't either.
I was like, maybe she'll learn from this. I'm like, she probably won't, but like, I feel like my Max is just trying to like get through things without causing further problems, and maybe by being the bigger person it'll make things easier. So
yes, and with Victoria, if you try for Victoria, like the good juju pays off. She'll maybe not do something nice for you, but she won't do something mean to you, you know, which is great for Victoria. But then immediately it's like, but this doesn't make us friends.
Yeah.
Yes, you did this for me and I chose not to do this, but that doesn't make us friends. And that comes up like every single time. Mm-hmm. You are the bigger person. You know, she'll always comment on, well, I thought you would do this, or like, I thought you were more of this kind of person. I'm kind of glad I was wrong, but we're not friends.
Yeah.
Victoria, you're such a jerk.
I know. And Max is like, okay, whatever. But like, it's kind of fun to be Max, to push Victoria, though, to make her focus more on who she is and being like, why are you doing this? Like, look at yourself. And like, because by Max being the bigger person in the situation, she does like even admit to Victoria, like to her face, because she's like, you know, she's snooped around everybody's room. So she's also been like, dang, Victoria has some cool stuff. Like, you know, she's kind of cool, but like, we can't be friends. And she like even tells Victoria, like, you're very talented. Like, stop being a jerk to people.
Like, you don't have to get ahead by being this way. You can just be yourself and be good at what you do, which you are. And Victoria's like, wow, that's really nice of you.
But I still hate you.
Kind of, I still hate you. It's like, oh, fuck.
You're like,
she is exhausting. Yes.
Yeah. No, that is so exhausting. And it's, you just constantly come upon Victoria in so many situations because she's also the one who like put this whole video out about Kate, and you're like trying to tell her like this is not cool because like Kate is not doing well. So not only are you doing it with Kate, but then so like that's a little bit pushed off to the side because Chloe's like, I need you, Max. Like, let's focus on this investigation. We need to go talk to this guy who is my dealer, who like knew Rachel as well, whose name is Frank, who actually, like, it depends if you interacted or not, which I didn't, because you see in the first episode this guy who lives in an RV with a dog, and you can choose like to write on his window or whatever and stuff, which honestly the first time I played it, I didn't touch it. I was like, I don't know what this is, but this is gonna come back to haunt me somehow, and I feel like this person's gonna murder me, so I'm just not gonna
I did it. It's just that she just writes like clean me or something like that on it. But no, like you go to the diner and you see the RV and just kind of like whatever, but then like there is the guy and the dog, and Max is like, oh my god, this guy gives me like a vibe.
Yeah.
A not great vibe. So I'm like, okay, well, let's leave him alone. But then he does come back to like into the story. He is a
Yeah.
character, so.
Mm-hmm. Well, and real quickly, like, at one of these points, you do tell Chloe that you have this ability, and you prove to her through various ways, which you have fun time, like, going back and forth between time, like, telling her what's in her pocket or whatever, telling her what's going to happen.
Yeah, like, you're sitting at the diner that Chloe's mom, like, owns or manages or whatever. Like, she's been there for forever. Which, the initial interaction with Joyce was very lovely. You know, Joyce has missed Max a lot, and she hopes that she can hang around and kind of, like, pull Chloe back to Earth.
Yeah.
But no, like, proving to Chloe that you have these powers was fun, but then, of course, it's Chloe, and we have to go farther with it.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to the junkyard.
Oh, yes.
Where Chloe pulls out a gun, and she's all like, let's do some target practice.
And you're like, no, why do you have a gun? This makes things worse.
Yeah, seriously. So you're shooting bottles and helping her do trick shots with your timey-wimey powers. And then Frank comes up, harassing Chloe about a whole lot of money that she owes him for drugs, essentially.
Yeah. And basically threatening her, like, you better pay or else. Like, and then you also have
you pull out a gun!
Yes, I
know! He makes some threatening motions towards Chloe. Who Max doesn't know Frank at all. He's just, he's some terrifying drug dealer.
Yeah, that just came out of nowhere threatening.
He makes some movements towards Chloe, and Max, who has the gun because Chloe, like, made her take it, she, like, pulls the gun out, and she's like, I'll kill you! And Frank's just like, LOL, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Did you pull the trigger? Did you pull the trigger, Chelsea?
Yes, I did.
I did too!
Yeah. Well, I didn't at first, and then I went back in time, and then I did it, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna stick with this, because we ended up not killing him, so I was happy about that, but it was also like...
Oh yeah, the gun was empty. But he knew you tried to shoot him.
Yeah, which I was like, okay, I'm gonna live that consequence because this guy's gonna be after me, but at the same time, he needs to realize, like, he was being terrifying, and I was trying to protect my friend, so...
Yeah, I was hoping that is what would happen, which, not really. I mean, he does leave.
Yeah.
Which is great, but, like, that consequence gonna come back. Like, I just tried to kill a man, and it didn't work, and he's like, I'll see you later. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, that ain't gonna work out.
Which, actually, this is an interesting reason of why I picked that option. So when I was playing most of this game and, like, making the choices and stuff, like, normally when I play games where, like, choices are, like, a super significant part, I normally, like, really put myself in that role and being, like, me making these choices. But it was more of, like, most of the choices I felt like I was just like, what would Max do in this situation? Like, this is all from her point of view and how she would approach things. So I felt some of these choices were a little bit easier because I was like, I don't know, this seems on brand for, like, the current environment she's in and everything. But we'll get to it later, and of why some things were difficult that, like, really affected me. But I was just like, I don't know, we'll just live with these consequences for now. This seems like Max would do in this situation. So yep, okay, we both pulled the gun.
Sure did.
But so while dealing with this stuff, like, Max gets a phone call and you can choose to answer it or not. Did you answer the call?
I did, because Chloe was really, like, putting her head in her ass about it. And she was like, we're hanging out. You can't answer phone calls. And I was like, Chloe, stop it. Yeah, because I think Max says, like, oh, it's Kate. And Chloe's like, oh, who's Kate, your new best friend? Like, she's being that way about it. So, yes, I did answer the phone
did
call.
too, because it was concerning. Because I was like, Kate is going through a lot. I'm like, I have to answer because I don't know what's going to happen. So...
Oh, now, like, since we're talking about this, earlier when we talked to Kate, like, in her room, and she was kind of, like, laying it out on us.
Oh.
Did you tell Kate to go to the police, or did you tell her to wait while we look for evidence?
I think I ended up saying going to the police.
Okay, I told Kate to wait.
Yeah, I was conflicted on that because I was like, I think it's words she would want to hear versus realistically she should wait. But it's also like, it's a lose-lose situation no matter what is how I felt about it. Just
yeah, when I told Kate to wait, she did not react well to those words. No. She did get upset. But then when she calls, like, so now when she calls, she says, hey, I'm sorry, like, you were right to, like, say to wait. Because they're afraid that the police are basically working for the Prescotts and would just completely bury the situation. which is why Max is like, oh, we need more proof before we just start like making accusations. And Kate's like, I understand why you said that. I'm sorry. But yeah, so you told Kate to go to the police.
Yeah. And like, I feel like it's kind of a similar like ending with that, because it's like you tell her to go to the police, but you're still telling yourself like, well, I'm still gonna investigate, like we're still gonna investigate this further. Like, I just think it gave her more hope in the moment where she felt so hopeless that there was a chance that something could happen. And I was like, well, it's better to give her a note of positivity than just saying no outright. And I think even on the phone, she's just like, thanks for believing in me and wanting me to like go tell somebody about it. And you're like, yeah, I'm trying to continue getting evidence. So it's just,
oh, okay. So it kind of ends up in the, well, regardless of those, both of those, we all end up in the same place next.
Yes, which becomes actually a huge point of no return, much to Max's surprise. She gets back to school and is heading to her room, and everybody is outside the dorm and looking up because Kate is on the roof about to jump.
And this whole segment was something, because you get like, it's raining, you get there, everybody's outside in the courtyard just looking up at Kate. Like, there are some people who are panicking and there are some people who are being absolutely awful.
Yeah.
But like, you just enter the courtyard, and as you enter, Kate jumps.
Yes.
And this is not a cinematic, this is like gameplay.
And
of course I panic and I rewind time, which I'm glad I did, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
But like, but it's awful because you see her jump and then you rewind time, so you see her come back to the top. But then as you do that, like, Max's powers begin to like get really wonky, and she starts to like bleed from her nose. Her head is hurting, and you just know that something's happening. Yeah. And so you're like, I have to get to Kate before like something, before I can't use my powers anymore. And so you're walking through the courtyard, constantly like rewinding time, not letting her hit the ground, like, because you can only go back so far and she's gonna jump regardless until you get to the door of the building. And that part was like powerful. I was like, I'm like literally stopping somebody from killing themselves, like, time after time after time.
Yeah. But then when you get to the roof, you realize, like, you can't go back and change these choices.
Your powers are not there anymore. Like, everything that happens from that moment on is stuck.
Yeah. And that was stressful.
That was very stressful. And it was a whole culmination of, like, how have you treated Kate, in front of her or not? What choices have you made surrounding Kate from this moment here? Because you get up to the roof and you're trying to talk her off the edge, and making too many not correct choices will send her over the edge, and you can't stop it this time. So did you save Kate's life?
I did.
Oh, me too.
With the help of the internet, to be honest. So
that's fine.
Yeah. I was just like, I have to save her no matter what. And I'm like, I can't make the wrong choices. Like, I figured I was going to help pick the right ones, but some of them I was like, I don't know. It's so hard, like, to feel like you're making the right choice, but then it ends up being the wrong thing to say to somebody. And so that was just, what a way to end that episode.
Yep. A severe crisis moment, for sure. But we both saved Kate. She gets taken to the hospital. Yeah. And we end up in the principal's office with us, the principal, David, the security guard, Nathan Prescott, and Mr. Jefferson, who Kate had tried to go to just before, and he basically just blew her off. Basically, it was like, if you didn't want to be dealing with this, maybe you shouldn't go around doing what you did. Yeah. Which I was like, whoa, that's a flag.
Yeah. I was like, that's weird. I thought he was nice. Huh. Okay.
Yeah, well, as a teacher, I understand how he was trying to be about it, but wow, he made the wrong decision. Wow. Just wow. Yeah. There was like no kindness in what he did at all. It was absolutely like, please don't make this my problem.
Well, and it was just interesting because I was like, well, the way he treats Max is very different. And I was just like, that's weird, but I guess we'll come back to that later. So
we sure will.
Yeah. But yeah, you're sitting in the principal's office and you have the choice of who should get blamed. Because
the principal, they all kind of like give their piece on the matter. And the principal is like, this is like an abomination. this is messed up and we need to like figure this out. So he's basically like, Max, point the finger.
Yeah.
Who do you think, whose fault is this the most? David for her like stalking and harassing her. Nathan for maybe presumably like causing it.
Mm-hmm.
Or Mr. Jefferson for not like helping her get help for the situation. Who did you point the finger at?
I chose Nathan.
Same.
Yeah, I chose it because at the time, I was like, realistically, if I have to put the blame on somebody, he's the one who has the most blame because he's one of my peers. Yes. He is dangerous. He clearly was involved in something with her and he did not help the situation. And he's the biggest threat, although it's kind of like the irony of, though, if you kick somebody out of school, like, is that even helping them? But it was the one I felt like was good.
For sure. No, because Nathan, he does get suspended from school as like they start, you know, an investigation or whatever. And I almost chose David, but it came down to like, well, should the adults be held accountable in some way, like for failing to help a student in a crisis? Like in a way, but it's not their fault. It's not their problem, quote unquote. Did they fail a responsibility or maybe an obligation? Sure, but it's not their fault.
Yeah, because I looked at it as like, yeah, those two could have done better. Like, Mr. Jefferson, I was like, I don't know why I would blame him at that point, because I was just like, yeah, like, he said some really crappy things as a teacher, but like, at the time, I was like, he doesn't have anything compared to the evidence I feel like I had for Nathan. And then, for David, I was kind of like, well, I don't know if he's just like that, or like, I don't think he's sketchy, but he is kind of weird. And I'm just like, well, I only saw that instance with Kate and it wasn't cool, but it wasn't like the reason that things got the way they did. So yeah, I was like, it's just Nathan for that. But so after all that, which also another thing that happens at the end of that episode, that we get more weird weather things. We get an eclipse, like randomly, like an unscheduled,
just an
unscheduled
eclipse. Like complete total eclipse.
Mm-hmm. And that's also again where we get the creepy person who then is specifically making a binder or whatever for Kate, and you're like, oh, okay, creepy. But then we're back with Chloe, and her grand idea is we're going to break into the principal's office to dig up dirt.
Which is
on
kind
everybody.
Of fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
It was also so dramatic with that, because you're like, Chloe can't open the door with the keys she stole from David, and she can't pick the lock for using her skills that she thought she had. And so you're like, hey, I'm gonna text Warren. He's a science nerd. I bet he could tell me how to build like a pipe bomb.
And you totally do. You go ransack the science lab, and you go and you make a little pipe bomb, and you blow the handle off the door.
Yeah,
it's like no big deal. And but then I was like, oh my god! But what if like you are blowing up a door,
like
or like the handle off a
noticed.
door?
Yeah.
But what you do, like you open the door that way, but then you go inside, you rewind time to before you blew off the handle, and you just unlock the handle for Chloe, and it's just like,
and just mess with her. Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh well, that's a better. And she just assumes like, oh, like you did something really cool with your time powers, and I don't get to remember it. That's not funny. And Max is like, eh.
Yeah, like you could deal with it, girl. Like,
yeah.
So then they just scour the principal's office, digging up like all the files they had on people. You find out stuff that, Nathan does have issues at school. Like the time with the gun was not his first like issue, but
most of his most of the problems that come up with Nathan are not even put into his file.
Mm-mm.
Naturally, he's some glowing perfect child in his actual school file, but everything else is there. You can see like
the threats from the parents, like his dad, and the stuff
issues
of being like
with teachers and and other kids. Like that stuff is still there, and you get to keep those files. So that's fun.
Yeah, and then you also get to make another important decision, because in one of the drawers there's money, and Chloe needs money to pay back Frank. But this money is supposedly for like the handicap fund at the school, and so you're like, well, it's supposed to be money for a good cause. So Wade, did you tell Chloe to keep the money, or did you leave it?
I left it.
Oh.
Did you keep it?
Yes. For
Chelsea.
for two reasons. Because Max and Chloe are like this super great friendship, and Max wants to help Chloe and help her to like not get in any trouble, because like she's already had all these problems already, which, oh, well, we didn't even talk about when they're hanging in the junkyard. Chloe somehow gets stuck on the train tracks and, like,
right. Yeah.
practically dies again, and you save her. And I'm just like, okay, like, Chloe's gonna have all these weird mishaps. We're gonna have to keep preventing her from dying. Like, there's clearly something going on here. So I just want to help minimize that.
Yes.
So I was just like, take the money, and I was also like, this money might not even be a handicap
like a deterrent
fund.
from, like, having to save her life again. Is that what you're kind of going for?
That, as well as the fact that I didn't believe this money was actually for a handicap fund.
Oh, well, I mean, the way, like, the money's in there in an envelope or whatever, you know, and, like, and it does say, like handicap fund, but the envelope might as well have had, like, quotation marks around handicap fund, so it was very sketchy, because no fund money is just left in an envelope in a desk. So I was like, is this money actually being used for that? I did think about it. Like, if it's going to be used for nefarious purposes anyway, we might as well take it and help Chloe with I say an actual problem, not like she took drugs from a drug dealer and that's totally her problem. But I did think about it, but I did choose to leave it.
Okay. Yeah, because I was also like, it could have just been like Prescott money to like hush money. And I was like, we'll take all the Prescott money we can get. That's fine. We'll take all the rich money.
Well, and the whole thing, like, you're broken into the damn principal's office. And Chloe is constantly like, let's do this. Let's take this stuff. Let's leave this behind. And it's like, we are committing high crimes here. Can you not want to leave some damn, like, Batman, Riddler, like, clue behind so they can come find us? Can you not?
That's fair. Yeah.
So I was very much like, I want to get out of here and not have, like, the FBI on my case. In the next episode. So I was very much about just, let's leave. And Chloe's like, let's take this with us. Let's steal this. I'm like, dude, stop it.
Yeah, no, that's true. But then we move on to...
Well, you go back to Chloe. Oh, no. You have to kind of escape the school. Because
yes, that's right.
The alarms do go off. You get out of the principal's office. You go to the... Well, no, you go to the pool.
Oh, yeah, you go for a swim.
You go for a swim.
Because we have all the time in the world.
Have all the time. Well, they think they do.
Yeah.
But while they're swimming, an alarm does get tripped. So you kind of have to, like, escape from the police. And you escape back to Chloe's house. You know, where, like, they have a moment. Or no, Chloe, like, dares...
Yeah, dares her.
Chloe dares Max to kiss her. Did you kiss her?
Yes.
I knew it. So did I.
Okay.
So did I.
Well, when I was given that option, I was like, I hate this. I hate that this is a dare. This is stupid. And I was just like, no, we're just gonna go there because there's already like major vibes there between them. And
there
also,
when
you choose to kiss her, Max like throws her arms around her and like
she goes
commits.
For it. She's like, girl, it's Pride Month. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it.
And Chloe is so surprised and like steps away, and I was like,
she's like, damn girl. Like, okay.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you were just trying to mess with Max.
Like,
and I'm like, I hate you for that.
I love that the comment she makes, like, I better text Warren now and tell him he's got some competition.
Yeah. Well, and my whole Max is like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I was like, all right.
Yeah. Like, and the whole time, like, I'm like, no, like, I feel like my Max is viewing Warren as, like, a really good friend, and it was like, sure, I like watching weird movies and stuff, yeah, I'll go to the drive-in with you, like, we'll have fun, but Warren
purely innocent,
yes!
Purely, like,
yeah.
You were leading that poor boy on, Chelsea.
You know what, it's not my fault, guys.
He got beat up by an actual psychopath for you, and you're just, like tailing him along.
No, I think we can be friends. It's his problem for not seeing it that's just that way. You can't always just want more than that.
Manipulator Chelsea. Oh,
no. There's a deeper conversation to be had about that. About guys and girls being friends, and they don't always have to be romantic, and some guys just have to get over that. Hard truths here.
Oh, well, we should go on then. Okay,
yes.
So still at Chloe's house.
Yes.
Chloe and David get into it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what it's for this time. Because last time it's because she had weed in her room.
Yeah.
What is it now? What's the second time? There was breakfast. You're eating breakfast with Joyce.
Mm-hmm.
Chloe comes downstairs. David comes home.
Yeah, because you're trying to, like, look into David's stuff, and, like, she's using it as a distraction in a sense, but things really blow up, because you find out that, like, David takes his security stuff, like, hardcore. He's, like,
surveilling the entire house. Like, he has cameras.
And he's also doing, like, surveillance work for the Prescotts, and, like, the Prescotts are, like, building some new, like, building or something, and so he's in charge of all the security there and everything, and there's just, like, weird vibes and, like, weird photos and stuff he has of, like, creeping on people, and it's just... But I think that might have actually happened a little bit before. It's really weird. I can't remember what the big trigger point is, but it what leads directly into the next episode, because it gets so crazy. Because it all leads to Max looking at a photo of when her and Chloe were younger with her dad.
Yes. But let's wait on that for a second.
Okay.
So Chloe and David argue it out. Chloe and Max leave. They're decided they're going to go see Frank the drug dealer to try to lean more into. They find out that, like, Rachel and Frank had, like, some weird relationship,
mm-hmm.
and Chloe's like, well, I bet Frank knows where she went, or he can at least tell us something.
Yes, that's right.
So they do go to see Frank in his RV, and this situation, it's not quite as stressful as like Kate on top of the building, but there is a lot of ways that this situation can go.
Yes,
like a ton.
That's true.
And I did use a guide for this.
Oh, okay.
Because
I just kept rewinding. Yeah.
Okay. It's so volatile. He's a freaking drug dealer, like, on drugs. Saying the wrong thing is, in some cases, a death sentence. In this conversation, for multiple people, not even for Max. Like, you can end this conversation, like, the best case, which is what I got because I cheated. Frank being on your side, giving you information, like, oh wait, no, that's later, isn't it?
I know, it kind of comes, but we can still talk about it now. Okay. It's fine.
Well,
it's fine.
So you go to Frank's RV.
Time's up.
Yeah, you go to Frank's RV, you break in to basically see what he's got going on.
Mm-hmm.
And you find out that he has some weird relationship with Rachel. Like, he has pictures of her, and, like, letters from her.
And also that bracelet that they noticed before.
And the bracelet. Yeah, so at the junkyard, Chloe notices that Frank has Rachel's bracelet on, which is, like, sets her off something crazy.
Yeah.
Because she's basically assumed that Frank killed Rachel, dumped her body, stole her stuff. Like, whoa, okay. Yeah. So you get there, and you have to, like, Frank has this attack dog. What is the dog's name?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I totally was blanking out.
It's something, like, amazing. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So you have to get the dog away from the RV. Basically, you have a treat, and
Pompidou.
You can Pompidou.
Yeah.
Pompidou is the dog's name.
Yeah.
You can throw the treat in two different places.
Yes.
If you can throw the treat towards the street, and the dog ends up getting hurt. Or you can, like, throw it somewhere else and he's fine. Which one did you do?
Through the parking lot, because first I was like, why would you throw in the street? And then I was like, oh wait, is this implying you want to kill the dog? And I'm like, well, if either way I get to go in, it just put it in the parking lot, because also I was like, maybe Frank would notice less if his dog was near the parking lot versus near the street.
Well, I kind of went with the same route, and I chose it. I chose that too, so Pompidou is safe, is fine.
Yes.
But anyway, so you finish that situation up, you leave, and the situation can also end with Chloe either having a gun again, because if you chose not to shoot Frank will take the gun. Yeah,
that's right.
But we shot him, he doesn't leave with the gun. But if he took it, at that point, you have an option to take it back. So I assume we both still have the gun.
Yeah, we still have the gun.
Okay.
Yeah. But then flash forward again to where they're confronting Frank again. And so we saved Pompidou, so Pompidou is still around. Which I only had to rewind it once, honestly, this whole situation. I really lucked out.
That's good.
Yeah. But you find out a bit more about how Frank believed, like, he and Rachel were really an item, and, like, they were in love, and, like, they were good for each other type thing. And of course, Chloe doesn't want to hear this.
Is very bad for him, too. You know, he's in a very similar situation to Chloe. But you're right. Chloe didn't want to hear that. She didn't want to believe that Rachel would just, like, involve herself with him in that way. Because he's gross. Essentially.
Yeah. But then, yeah, so that means, okay, so we both left Frank still alive then. Was he injured at all or anything?
Nope.
Okay, yeah.
And neither was Pompidou.
Nope, yeah. So we left with them, yeah, on our side, and we were on to more. But I think we go back a little bit per se, because we learned something else about Max's abilities, and this becomes a huge part with, like, the transition from, like, chapter 3 to 4 or whatever, because...
Oh, majorly.
Yeah, because Max is just, like, looking at photographs, and, like, she keeps thinking about Chloe and Chloe's dad, and, like, was wondering if maybe she could change things with that. So she starts staring at a picture that Chloe's dad took of her and Chloe, and she
the
gets
morning that he died.
Yeah, transported through the photo, and she's like in her younger self's body, and she's like, now I can change the past. Like, this is perfect. Like, I feel like Chloe would be in a better spot if I save her dad. So you go throughout the whole scene, you keep repeating it over and over again, learning different things, learning how to, like, try to prevent her dad from driving, because Chloe's dad dies in a car accident on his way to, like, pick up his wife from getting groceries. And so you succeed in that, and you're like, this is perfect, everything's great.
Well, like, everything you learn, like, you learn in this segment that Chloe and Joyce really were completely different people.
Yeah.
When Chloe's dad was still alive, because he was such a positive force to them. Like, he held them together. He seemed just completely wonderful. And after he died, they really fell apart and everything. And then Max left, and things just got gross for Chloe.
Yeah. And it's something that you slowly realize as you play this game, is that, like, we as, like, the player, like, anytime, like, we go back and forth between time and things change, like, there'll be, like, photographs of, like, key moments, and sometimes, like, those will change to a new image to kind of, like, fill in some gaps. But we later, like, learn on, like, Max doesn't know what happens between when she changes things. Like,
she has keeps to kind the information she knows, but yeah. Yeah, which is great. Like, whoa, that's complicated. So the chapter ends with Max saving William. That's his name, right? William. She kind of, like, wakes back up at school, but she's
out
like
with her friends,
like BFFs with, like, Nathan and Victoria and, like, all the the Vortex Club. Essentially, she's like BFFs with them.
Yeah,
but Victoria's like a super nice person. Like, they're all, like, lovely people now. And Max is like, okay, but I need to go find out. Like, I need to go see William. I need to go see that he's still alive. So you grab a taxi, you run off to her house, which...
The bus driver is David.
Oh, the bus driver is David. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, so...
Like, that's a change.
A sign. Yeah.
And he seems happy. He seems fine,
yeah,
you know?
he's fine.
That's kind of the thing, like, you change the past and everything just seems better. Just... Like, there's sun, there's great music,
more positivity,
everything. Yeah. You get to Chloe's house, which, great, they still live there. That's a detail, you know?
Yeah, that would suck. You'd be like,
Max knocks on the door, and oh my god, I had to brace myself. Max knocks on the door, William opens it, and it's like, oh my god, it's Max Caulfield. Like, get in here, sister. We've been wondering if you were ever going to come see us. Because it seems like the whole thing with Max moving and then coming back and then kind of ghosting the situation, that still happened.
Yes.
He's like, Chloe will love to get to see you. And then,
my gosh.
And then it's like the camera work and everything. You see, like, the camera's inside the house looking at Max, and she's looking so, like, on edge and just, like, holding her breath. Yeah. And then you see her face fall, and her hands come up to her mouth. And then the camera turns around, and Chloe's coming down the hallway in a wheelchair, like, all hooked up. She's like, she's completely paralyzed from the neck down. And, you know, and credits. And then the credits. And it's like, oh my god. And then that's the end of episode 3. I had to take a break for, like, I knew I had to go straight in, you know, but I had to take a break because I was just, like, I was so emotionally, like, stunted after that point. I'm even sure I sent you some, like, freaking out text messages.
Yeah, which is funny because, you finished the game before I did. So when I got all those texts, I was trying to piece those texts together with the parts that I was playing. And I was like, oh, this is probably that reaction and that reaction. Oh my gosh. I was just like, no, I'm like, I have to keep going. You can't leave me on that cliffhanger. And I'm like, thank goodness this game's already been out for years. So seriously. I'm going right in.
So we will go right in.
Yeah.
All right. So
episode 4, we've reached a point in the story where things really start to like move really fast
Mm-hmm.
and kind of freak you out a little bit. We have,
Understatement there.
yeah, right. We have Max, who is now in this like alternate timeline that she has created after saving Chloe's dad.
Yeah. And it still kind of plays into the fact that like Max realizes that like she still hasn't kept in that constant contact with her through this whole time. It's kind of like her original timeline with Chloe where like she sent occasional letters, and when she sees her at her house, it's like the first time she's seen her in the 5 years. And so they kind of have like a little catch up, and it's like a major catch up though for Max, because she's like, I don't know what happened in this timeline. I need to figure out what's going on, basically. And so they have like a moment at the beach and everything, which it alludes to that things are still kind of going crazy towards this like crazy storm at the end of the week, because like there's still a bunch of the dead whales on the beach as
Dead beached whales.
Mm-hmm.
Did we talk about the dead birds before? Like
No,
dead birds just like falling out of the sky?
Yeah, and like littering Chloe's backyard.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
So we have like all of these like weird weather things. We have just like animals dying and showing up everywhere. So while life is better to some degree, like obviously there's still something wrong because the world is still ending essentially.
Yeah, but this version of Chloe and Max like get to reconnect, and basically appears to be like Chloe's best day in like absolute years since Max left. And it's just,
oh, she is very happy. She's so like at peace getting to see her best friend, and Max stays the night. They watch a movie. They talk about their childhood and life as it is, and they go through pictures, of course.
And it's a little bit of normalcy for both of them in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, they just have to go for the...
You gotta pull the knife back out.
Yes, exactly. After you kind of explore the house and everything, because Chloe is in a lot of pain. She's like, I need you to get my medicine. So you have a chance to talk to both of Chloe's parents, and you understand, like, you know, they really love Chloe, but things are really rough on them right now because
financially and everything else is just really bad.
Yeah, medical care is expensive, and it's just taking a toll on everybody. But yes. So then, of course, when you come back with the medicine, Chloe just hits you with, you know, one of those big choices in the game of her basically saying, I'm tired of suffering. I know I'm dying. Can you be the one to end my life, basically? And so, what choice did you make? Did you say yes, or did you say, no, I can't do that to you?
I said yes.
I did too. It was one of those moments where I was just like, well, I feel like Max would do anything for Chloe, and one thing she cannot stand is seeing Chloe suffer.
Well, and her parents too, and everything, and it's just, it was hard. I think I sat here and just stared at the screen forever. But, you know, at the end of the day, the only person that has to live with your decision is you, though, because the second you make the choice, Max is going, you know, she's going back through the photo albums there at Chloe's side, and she goes back in time one more time to that original event, and she makes the decision to allow Chloe's dad to die. So they wind up back where they were before this whole thing started.
So we have that going on, and then, the rest of the story really starts just tumbling forward. Just everything is just coming to an end now, because we're still dealing with, like, you know, what happened to Rachel Amber? Well, we do find out what happened.
Disturbingly, but hey.
Yes. Which it was bound to happen. But because it's all the stuff that's still with Nathan and weird pictures they find of his and things that just lead them to realizing Rachel Amber is dead, and she is buried in the junkyard.
So you take Chloe there, and they dig her body up, and they find it, and, you know.
They barely get a moment to grieve when all of a sudden, bam, Max gets drugged with a needle to the back of her neck, and as she's trying to warn Chloe gets shot in the head.
She sure does, and then Max passes out. She's unable to stop it.
And then she wakes up, tied up in the basement, which I guess we forgot to mention. They had previously checked out this area before. It's called, like, the dark room, a weird place they had uncovered that was on the Prescott property. And she thinks that Nathan is the one who put her there, but when she opens her eyes, she does not see Nathan.
Mr. Jefferson all along. He had a freak side to his photography. he's been drugging girls and photographing them in like near-death states.
It's their most purest forms and really creepy thing.
For real. Mm-hmm. And then, but he hasn't been killing people. He's been taking his photographs and basically like releasing them back into the wild, more or less. But he has been working with Nathan. Nathan has been involved with this. He's been kind of like his apprentice, so to speak. And Nathan tried it on Rachel and went too far. And Rachel did end up dying from that. Well, Kate was attacked by Mr. Jefferson. So while she was traumatized, she didn't die. And then you have to go through this huge sequence of events where Max is tied to this chair after having all of these photos taken and everything else. Like the drugs start to wear off a little bit, and there's lots of exposition. Mr. Jefferson is talking about what he's doing and why he's doing, given the typical pretentious villain thing.
Yeah.
So Max is trying to use her powers to go back and forth, because she can't go back very far, basically from like the moment she woke up. But you're trying to like get her out of this situation, but she gets access to a picture from like earlier in the day, I suppose, like when she was having pictures taken of her, and you have to like play this game of bouncing back and forth and trying to create like a slightly more advantageous situation for her to escape, which leads to all sorts of things happening. I mean, she does kind of escape, and David comes to save her, but then of all people, David comes to save her, but then you have to like make sure he also doesn't get killed in the process of trying to save you. How many times did that take you to do?
I think that took me actually only twice somehow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad.
But I mean, he definitely did get like injured a little bit in the process, but I was like, well, that was kind of to be expected.
Same. Yeah. But there was some high emotions. Like there's some adrenaline pumping.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and that was a little bit of a choice there. So like after you get David to like successfully help you get free of that, you have the option to tell David about Chloe.
Yeah.
So I did it twice, because the first time I was like, yeah, Chloe's dead. And he was so distraught, and then he kills Jefferson. And I was like, oh crap, we don't want that on his hands, and we don't want him dead because he needs to pay for his crimes. So then I went back and I was like, yeah, like Chloe's fine or whatever. I'll see her later. And I'm like, oh boy. But like from that point on, like you're basically trying to find photographs. Like it's such a trippy like event. There's so many things that you go through in this, because this is kind of like, this really is mainly like the final chapter 5 is where we see all this, the going back and forth, like trying to escape Jefferson's clutches to also just trying to get back to Chloe. Because at that point, even after you've already been saved and stuff, Chloe is still dead because she was still shot in the head by Jefferson. So you need to figure out how to go back further in time to prevent her from dying from that instance. And what happens during that whole sequence too is that Jefferson does burn your journal with all your photos, so you can't use those to go back. But earlier that night, you had gone to the Vortex Club party, and right outside Warren had taken a picture. And you're like, I hope Warren still has that picture.
That one picture.
Like, the one picture. And hopefully he's sober enough that he still has it and remembers that he took it. So you go on a craziness, because this is also the day that the storm is supposed to hit, like basically the wiping Arcadia Bay off the map. So you're dealing with not only just somehow supposed to get past the trauma of being like kidnapped and drugged, now you have to like go all the way across town to get a photograph to go back in time. And so you're dodging this and that. There's so many opportunities if you want to save people that you can just watch all these people dying outside in front of you.
Oh gosh. Like most of the cast is out there trying to like escape or get away or help people, and they end up dying in the process, and you can choose to save them. And it's a whole like literally like buildings are crumbling and there's fires and and the wind is like just absolutely torrential and everything else.
Yeah, which a real quick note about that. Yeah, because like I tried to save everybody I could in the moment, and there's the one traumatic moment where like you're like, oh, I need to put out the fire, let me turn on the sprinklers, and you kill the guy in the other room because you electrocute him.
You electrocute him, but you have to let him die though, so that you can get into that room, reverse time, tell him to get out of the way.
Yeah, that was insane. But
yeah, that was just like, okay, well, here we are. Love watching that.
But then you finally make it because all the other characters, if they aren't like struggling to survive outside or if they aren't already dead at this point, basically, they're at the diner. So you get to the diner and you have a chance to talk to Joyce, Frank, and then of course Warren. And he does have the photograph. And you can choose to thank him in like 3 ways, depending on how your relationship has progressed. So what did you pick?
I chose to kiss him. It seemed appropriate and emotional and very like the world is about to end, and if it does end, at least like we can go out in this way. Did you give him the cold shoulder?
Oh, I hugged him.
Oh, okay.
It was the happy medium. It was the in-between. It was you're a really good friend, but you're still a friend. You don't get the kiss. That was for Chloe. So
that was for Chloe.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But then you also, in that moment, you do tell Warren the truth about, like, I have this crazy ability. I need to go back in time. And then he's just like, yeah, you're the one who caused the storm. You need to fix that. I was like, thanks.
It's obvious that these two things are connected. So you're just like, okay, well.
Yep. So this is where things just get really crazy. We get so much, like I said, this entire like last chapter, we get so many points of going back and forth between time, so many times just like slow-mo, crazy backwards sequences, which were really cool with like at the school.
that was kind of cool.
Yeah. There's moments too where you're like trying to escape your memories almost and trying to hide, and like that was kind of a little creepy at one point where you're like going through the different mazes.
Yeah. It took me forever to find that last freaking picture there.
Yeah. I went through the whole thing and I was like, oh crap, I need to go back. And I was like, I don't know where this is.
That's the thing. You get to the end, you're like, oh man, I have to go back.
Yeah. I was like, that was already enough for me. But throughout that whole time, it's basically, you go back in the past, you save Chloe from getting shot by Jefferson, but then, what do you do at a time when there's a crazy storm going on? Of course, you go near the water and you go to the highest cliff you can near a lighthouse.
Why not?
Because that's what you do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But was there anything else I forgot to mention before we go on to the big decision?
There's the brief moment before, like, the world starts to end where Max is like, well, what if I just go back in time, like, to the beginning of all this and tell, like, the police that it's been Jefferson all along, like, before all of this stuff even happens. Yeah. And, and, like, she can tell you where the room is. She can tell you basically where all of the evidence is. And she does that, and basically, like, the world changes again, where Max wins the photo competition. She gets to go to, where is it, like, San Francisco or LA or something?
Yeah, San Francisco.
But she gets to go and see her work. But again, she finds out that Arcadia Bay is being destroyed by the storm. So she's like, this is still not the right answer. So she has to go back again. And she figures out everything has to happen basically the same way, which leads us to this final moment where we've saved Chloe. We've made it to the lighthouse on this cliff, preparing for the storm to hit. And we're given a choice that the pieces kind of come together. And Chloe is like, you spent this entire week basically saving me time after time after time. And you keep saving me, and, like, this storm keeps getting worse. Like, we keep heading into the storm. And so the obvious thing is that if I live, then Arcadia Bay gets destroyed. And we can't stop the storm. And so you're given the choice of taking Chloe and escaping Arcadia Bay and letting everybody die, essentially. Or going back one more time, allowing Chloe to die that very first time with Nathan in the bathroom and the gun, and everybody saved. And that's the thing. That's where we end. So, Miss Chelsea.
Yes, Wade.
Which choice did you make?
I went back and forth so many times in my head, just like trying to go through this choice. And my initial gut feeling, because this is one of those choices where I like personally got really emotionally invested in it, because I really started like being like, what if I was in this situation? And it was like, this is really difficult, because I really did want to save Chloe, but time and time again, the game has shown that unfortunately, like, Chloe is like basically doomed to die young. Like, no matter what you do, she dies in some terrible way. And I was just like, well, I can't in good conscience just save one person and kill many. I chose to sacrifice Chloe to save the town. Because it was also this moment too where it's Like, I think a lot of people, when they hear us talking about this game, if they've never played it before, they're like, oh, this is dumb. This game only comes down to this one choice. So basically everything else you've done is meaningless. I technically disagree with that, because this whole journey has been Max's journey, and she's been given these opportunities to reconnect with her best friend, but also you can choose her to have the opportunities whether or not she wants to be invested in the world around her. So if you've made those connections with other people in her life, she finds like value and meaning in them and realizes like the world is an okay place and that other people are worth living too.
Yeah. I mean, Chloe deserves to get to live too, but so does everybody else.
Yeah. So that's what I went with. What did you pick?
I went with the same. I chose to sacrifice Chloe and not destroy Arcadia Bay. Mm-hmm. Which, you get like the funeral scene and everything, and it was just, oh god.
Yeah, I cried the entire time to the end.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even after the game ended, I was just like, I can't deal with this.
Yep. Nope. Agreed.
Yep.
And it is a heavy ending, for sure.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And now we have a new game to look forward to.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
We have a sequel Max Caulfield game coming out that was just announced.
Yes. That was a complete surprise to us.
Complete surprise to us,
not planned with our episode.
But it works.
Yeah, and this game will be here before we know it. The Life is Strange Double Exposure comes out October 29th. I don't know. I'm curious about the game. I have some mixed feelings about it, but it looks interesting enough from some of the gameplay they've shown.
Yeah, well, Max gets like a whole new set of powers too.
Yeah. Which honestly kind of makes sense. Like, if she's so traumatized about the events that happened in the first game, whichever ending was picked, she's like, well, my powers have consequence, so I'm not going to use them. But then when she like wants to use them again, it's like, oh yeah, they're not quite the same because you haven't like gotten, I guess, quote,
maybe there are less consequences with new powers. Maybe I've learned nothing. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure that'll be quite the emotional journey, and it'll be interesting to see how they tie things in.
Mm-hmm. I know that they did make it to where both endings are canonical to this game, so...
Well, and I'm wondering, because you can shift between, like, two timelines? Is it because both of your choices exist in both timelines, and that's what you go back and forth between? As well as trying to, like, solve your new friend's deaths, murder, which also definitely has some supernatural elements of how, like, this friend died. And I'm like, yeah, because it's also supposed to be alluding to, like, why her powers are different. I'm like, yeah, something has some other powers, and it's affecting Max's powers, too. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting because this is also because the original game, I guess the first one and the second one were technically done by like the original studio, which was Don't Nod, and then another studio like took, I don't know, like ownership of the games and created like the Before the Storm, which was the prequel to Life is Strange 1, and then True Colors, and so they're the ones who are picking up the reins on Max Caulfield's story. So
it's not good. You can just blame it on the new studio. It's fine.
Yeah, I guess so. That's what we're saying. Yep.
Well, I think we have both suffered some pretty good trauma while going through this story. So, yay Pride Month.
Oh. that just hits too hard like that. Wow. Yep, but...
I think, listeners, if you've been interested in the story we've told, you should definitely go give this game a try. It's on sale on, I want to say, every platform, every so often, and it's pretty cheap when it goes on sale. I wait for a sale, but if you want to give it a shot, give it a shot. It's it doesn't take too long. It's like maybe 10 hours to play through the entirety of it all. Now, if you want to do all the things, it's add a couple more hours. The only other things really to do is in each of the 5 episodes, there's 10 additional photos you can take, which are all involving achievements and stuff like that. So if you're an achievement hunter, a trophy hunter, you do have a method of getting that. Very easy to platinum, I would say.
Yes.
Did Chelsea add another platinum to her collection?
Yes, I did.
Hey, me too.
Yes.
I have a whole 3 platinum trophies now.
Yay!
So listeners, if you want to give it a shot, go for it. It's fun, but also it tells a really good, heart-wrenching story at the same time.
Yes.
So I wouldn't call it a cozy game. It's a little too traumatic, I think, for that. Mm-hmm. But hey, it is a good, relaxing game.
Yeah, and a good game nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. So, listeners, we hope that you have enjoyed our Life is Strange episode. Maybe in the future, we'll try out one of the other Life is Strange games. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Maybe next Pride Month or something. But make sure that you are following us on all of the platforms. Send us messages. Review us wherever you're listening right now. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you'd like to hear. We have a whole rest of the year to get ready for. So let us know what you'd like to hear from us. Any movies you'd like us to review, books, video games. We've definitely got more X-Men coming. Don't you worry. Mm-hmm. Actually, yes. I think that's our next episode, right? Is more X-Men?
Yes,
even
correct.
More X-Men. So there we go. So listeners, again, thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.
See ya.